Yo, what up? What up? Welcome back to another episode. It's your boy Ralph Sneaks. Damn You Too Sports Talk Show. You tuned in back for another episode, man. I appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, head over to YouTube. Damn You Too Sports Talk. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get notified when new content released. Head over to IG, follow the sports page. Damn underscore YouTube underscore sports talk. You can click the link in the bio and subscribe to YouTube that way. Head over if you want to follow me personally on IG. It's Ralph underscore sneaks. If you want to follow Twitter, X, it's Damn You Too Sports Talk. We're gonna get to it, man. This ain't gonna be long. We got a NFL trade deadline show. As you know, today is the NFL trade line. I think it's 4 o'clock. So there are moves that have already been made. There's teams probably still trying to make moves. Um, so I'm pretty sure another trade is gonna happen within the hour. I think it's 4 o'clock deadline. But today is the trade deadline, so 4 o'clock. I still think another move is going to be made. May not be a major move, may not be a big fish, but I think somebody somewhere is still going to make a move or two, in my opinion, because it's been a pretty solid trade deadline so far. I'm gonna give you the rundown. Like I said, man, this ain't gonna be a long episode. This show ain't gonna be long at all, man. It's just basically going over what is already taking place today at the deadline. Because we've had some nice pieces move. We've had some teams get better. Uh, there's some teams that need to be sellers. As we can see, there's a few teams that made a move today that are definitely buying and definitely going in, not only for just this season, but setting themselves up for next season as well. Um, but if you look at Pittsburgh, they made two moves today. They went out and acquired the edge rusher Preston Smith. I'm sorry, Preston Smith. I don't know why I'm adding Russell Wilson name to his name, but Preston Smith, the edge rusher from Green Bay, they went and added him to the defense. Now, if you look at Pittsburgh defensively, they already stout. You got T.J. Watt up front. You got Alex Highsmith. You got Cam Hayward. You got Patrick Queen. You got Minka Fitzpatrick on the back end. Now you add Preston Smith um, to that defense. They acquired Dante Jackson in the secondary this offseason, trading away Deontay Johnson to Carolina, getting Dante Jackson back in the secondary. So they got a damn good defense already over there in Pittsburgh, and then adding Preston Smith to the mix is only gonna make them better. Um, so that was a solid move, and they also acquired Mike Williams from the New York Jets. Now I think they were trying to get Mike Williams right after the Jets traded for Devontae Adams, but they didn't nothing materialized from that right after the Devontae Adams trade. So Mike Williams is now headed over there to Pittsburgh for a fifth round pick. Um, so now Pittsburgh. The only issue with Mike Williams, in my opinion, is his health, his ability to stay healthy. You know what I'm saying? Mike Williams could be the deep threat for Pittsburgh. You now have Russell Wilson under center. You got George Pickens over there. So Mike Williams is a nice addition. He's definitely a deep threat and can be that when healthy. Things just didn't work out over in with the Jets. You know, after he was released from the LA Chargers and the Jets signed him, um, it just didn't work out over there with the Jets. And it's not his fault. You know, the Jets got all kind of mess going on. They got all kind of shit going on over there. So you can't just blame it on him. You know, it just didn't work out over there. You know, it was a nice try for the Jets picking him up, but it didn't work. Hopefully things work out much better, and I think they will in Pittsburgh, because I don't think Pittsburgh got the turmoil within that organization that's translating and rolling over to on-field play that they got up there in New York with the Jets. Uh, they didn't fire the coach. Obviously the Jets did. Robert Sala's not there, but Mike Tomlin is still the head coach in Pittsburgh, so they don't have a head coach getting fired type of issue. You know, they don't have turmoil going on. They got a solid defense. They got an identity. They got chemistry. They got a real solid organization over there from top to bottom. You know, and they got a consistent head coach, Mike Tomlin. So I don't think the only issue that I think that Mike Williams will have, and this is not just with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but this will be anywhere he go, is his ability to stay healthy. You know, if he can't stay healthy, then none of that matters. But that was a nice pickup, nice addition Both of those guys for the Pittsburgh Steelers on both sides of the ball. Preston Wilson on the defensive side of the ball. Mike Williams adding a deep threat element to that offense with Russell Wilson, the veteran QB over there. Then we had another trade. We got Jonathan Mingo, the receiver from Carolina. He's going over. Got traded to Dallas. He went to Dallas along with a 7th-round pick in exchange for a 4th-round pick. This is the trade everybody talking about that the Dallas Cowboys got fleeced on. Because if you were in the market for a wide receiver, you basically let Amari Cooper go for less than what you acquired Jonathan Mingo for. Then you look at what D Hop went for. I think he went for like a conditional 5th-round pick to Kansas City. So right there, you know, you spent more to get Jonathan Mingo, um, a player that's not proven at all, a player that wasn't even getting reps or the reps that he should have been getting. He wasn't even getting those type of reps in Carolina, and Carolina's a 2-win team. So now I think it's a little bit too late if you Dallas. You got Dak Prescott on IR, so he's gonna miss at least 4 games. You don't have a run game. You now got to rely on Trey Lance. And now you're looking at, and I'm gonna get into that in a second. Right after this, you're now looking in the division in which the third. You're looking up at the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders, and the Washington Commanders made a move for Marshawn Lattimore, and I'm gonna get into that in a second. But if you're the Dallas Cowboys, I think it's a little bit too late. I think what you need to be doing is you need to be selling. You don't need to be buying nothing. I think, why not just go ahead and see what you can get for Michael Parsons because you still got to pay him. You just paid Dak Prescott, made him the highest paid quarterback, and he on IR, so he gonna miss at least 4 games. Now you got Trey Lance starting. You still don't have a run game. I think CeeDee Lamb may be dealing with an injury, but it's not. I don't know if he missed time, but I haven't heard about him missing time. But he's dealing with something. Um, so defensively, you ain't there. So I don't know what are you buying for if you're the Dallas Cowboys. Is this something for next season or what it is? Because you gave Carolina a 4th-round pick in exchange for a 7th-round pick in Jonathan Mingo when you basically let Amari Cooper go. Uh, you didn't even get that much back for Amari Cooper going to Cleveland. Then on top of that, D Hop went for a conditional 5th to Kansas City. So I don't understand what Dallas is doing. I'm not sure why you want to add another receiver now when Dak Prescott is on the IR. Pretty much you might just want to go ahead and start looking into next season, looking into this off season. I think they need to be selling at the deadline. I don't think they need to be buying nothing because Dallas Cowboys sitting at what 3-5, 3-6, something like that, 3-5. Uh, and they still got the Commanders twice. They still got the Eagles twice. Uh, and they got Houston coming up. So it's not looking good for the Dallas Cowboys. And like I said, Dak Prescott on IR, he gonna miss at least 4 games. So I'm not sure what that was all about. What Dallas just did. I think Dallas just did something to say they did something, just so Jerry can say we tried because he did say we was going all in, but he's done nothing to indicate going all in. But we gonna keep it moving. Like I said, the Washington Commanders traded for Marshawn Lattimore. They got Marshawn Lattimore on a 5th-round pick. The New Orleans Saints receive a 3rd, 4th, and 6th-round pick in the upcoming draft. I think this was a damn good move for the Washington Commanders. I think what the New Orleans Saints is doing is they cleaning the house. They've already parted ways with Dennis Allen, the head coach, and now they part ways with one of their star players, Marshawn Lattimore. Um, Not sure if Chase Young is going to be on the move or not. Um, you got Chris Olave. He's dealing with concussion issues. He got concussed Sunday at Carolina, a game in which they lost. Receiver Rashid, he's out for the season. ACL torn. So you just selling right now if you the Saints. You selling right now. You just looking at what you got and playing the rest of the season out because you start the season 2-0, and ever since then you're 0 and you ain't won a game. So you're sitting at 2-7, and you just lost to the Panthers, another 2-17. But if you watch the Commanders, you look at this. To me, this team remind me of um, kind of like when Cam was in Carolina. You got a defensive minded head coach and Dan Quinn, in which Carolina had a defensive minded coach. And Ron Rivera. You handed the keys over to a young quarterback, in Jay Daniels the same way Carolina handed the keys over to a young quarterback in Cam Newton. Um, they're gonna address they're gonna address the defensive side of the ball. You know, offensively outside of Terry McLaurin, you really can't name any other wide receivers. Like I said, they just traded away one of their receivers to a division rival, Philadelphia Eagles, this offseason. Dotson, he's going over to Philly. So for one, I think they just handing the keys over because Jay McDaniels is really, and he ain't even finished his rookie year, but they feel confident enough in him and handing him the keys over to the offense, let him do his thing while they get better on defense. And I think them being where they are right now defensively, Marshawn Lattimore was a damn good addition. I heard they checked in on Reed from the New York Jets. The New York Jets declined. And I think Reed is set to be a free agent this season. I mean, at the end of this season. So for them to decline that from a guy that's basically going to be a free agent at the end of the season, they must plan on re-signing Reed with the Jets. That's the only thing I got out of that. But as far as the Washington Commanders, they going in for it. You know what I mean? I don't think nobody predicted them to be 7-2 at this point in the season. I don't think nobody predicted Jaden Daniels to be doing what he's doing. If people thought that he was going to be a good player in this league, but to be doing what he's doing in his, this far, in this short time span in his rookie season in the NFL, having to watch the Commanders first in the division at 7-2. And the defense, like I said, is playing better as the season goes. The defense wasn't playing as good when the season first started, but as the season has progressed, so has the Commanders' defense. They've gotten better. So now they're starting to win games without having to run up the scoreboard because the defense is now getting better. And when the offense is kind of slacking just slightly, they are now playing better defensively that the defense can pick the slack up. And adding a guy like Marshawn Lattimore is a damn good move because if you had to pinpoint one area on that defensive side of the ball there was a weakness, it would be in the secondary at the cornerback spot. Because I think they pretty much given up on Emmanuel Forbes. They pretty much started to give up on him last season, and they really ain't showing nothing. They really ain't showing him no kind of. They giving up on him this season. So to go and get a Marshawn Lattimore and get a fifth round pick back and give up a third, fourth, and sixth round pick, I think that was a good move for Washington. Especially when you're looking at around the NFC. Look at the teams that's going to be in the playoffs. You got Atlanta's probably going to be the team that come out the NFC South. You're going to have two teams come out the NFC North, probably three, depending on how the rest of the season go. Then you're going to have, teams out the NFC West. So you're looking at what the Washington Commanders doing now. Halfway through the season at the deadline, they've really exceeded expectations, and they had the additional picks to give up a third, fourth, and sixth round pick. So it wasn't costing them a whole lot because they had the additional draft capital to go out and make this move. A lot of teams probably didn't, but they did. So, and then they got a fifth round back in return along with Marshawn Lattimore. So that was a good move for the Washington Commanders. They got new ownership over there. Magic Johnson is a part of that. So they making winning moves. Only they making winning moves just like what Magic Johnson. Anything he's a part of is a winning move, and that's exactly what they doing. They making winning moves. They're not sitting around. They're not gonna wait till a window open. They're gonna create a window while they got a chance. What I mean? They got a young rookie quarterback, so they doing and now they get a feisty cornerback to come in at a position of need at the trade deadline. Damn good move by the Washington Commanders. I like that move by the Washington Commanders. And like I said, for the New Orleans Saints, they just selling. They got to get their cap situated. They got to get a head coach. They just fired Dennis Allen. So, starting 2-0 and then ain't winning a game since and losing at Carolina was the final straw. So that right there was the final straw. And like I said, I don't know if Chase Young gonna be on the move or not because he was only on a 1-year deal. So maybe he's on the move before the deadline. You got about 40 minutes left before the deadline, 41 minutes or so before the deadline. So I'm not sure if he's gonna be on the move or not. But the Saints is one team that need to be selling right now. You know what I mean? So, probably Chase Young, he may be on the move or not. What else? We got Cincinnati Bengals. They picked up a running back at the deadline, Khalil Herbert, the running back from the Chicago Bears. He headed to Cincinnati for a 7th round pick. Cincinnati, I thought they had started to kind of find their run game a little bit with Brown and I think Zach Moss is over there. But evidently not. They went and got Khalil Herbert from the Chicago Bears for a 7th round pick. Um, Cincinnati, they're not really performing up, to what they should be. Um, I understand they won Sunday, but they played the Las Vegas Raiders. But you know, I think for Cincinnati, I think they needed to be in the market for a defensive piece. Um, I think they lost defensively. And T. Higgins has been injured majority of this season so far, and he got hit with the franchise tag. So I'm not sure what I'm he's not going to be back next year. He's going to be in a different uniform next year, is what I'm guessing. Um, Jermaine Burton, I'm not sure what's going on with him, but Cincinnati got a running back for a 7th round pick. I don't think it's going to move the needle much for them, especially when you look at what the Pittsburgh Steelers did, bringing in Preston Smith and bringing in another wide receiver in Mike Williams. So Pittsburgh, it wasn't the team that I picked to win this division. I picked this team, Pittsburgh. I picked them to probably finish third in the division, but they doing much better than what I thought they was gonna do. And then they went and just made additions today at the deadline. So if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, I don't think Khalil Herbert is gonna move the needle enough for you. But in only giving up a 7th round pick, you know what I mean, it ain't gonna hurt nothing. Um, in that division. So you didn't give up a whole lot. And you probably weren't gonna give up a whole lot anyway for a running back. Especially one that wasn't starting, in Chicago. Um, the Detroit Lions, this was another good one. Zadarius Smith. The Detroit Lions received Zadarius Smith in a 2026 7th round pick. Cleveland received a 5th round pick a 5th round pick, and then a 2026 7th round pick. I think this was a good move. As we know, Aiden Hutchinson is out. He had that nasty injury at Dallas. He's out. And like I stated before, Zadarius Smith was a name to be. I said this yesterday. Matter of fact, he was a name to be on the lookout for, and for Detroit. And 24 hours later, he get traded to Detroit. Like I said, Aiden Hutchinson had that nasty injury at Dallas, so that's going to be a nice fill in for Aiden Hutchinson. And I think the Detroit Lions is the best team in football right now. Despite Kansas City being 8-0, and they got half of their games they won is come off phantom calls. Whether it was a missed call or a call that they benefited from, it was a phantom call. But I ain't gonna get into that because that ain't what this show is about. It's about free agency, and we're just gonna stick to that. But I think the Detroit Lions is the best team in football right now. I think that they can win games multiple ways. They can win games running up the score, and they can win games not running up the score and not having the best statistics. But you're not going to get back-to-back games from them playing bad. Detroit, I think all roads lead through Detroit. You got to go through Detroit in the NFC, in my opinion. And I think this is probably what one of the moves the Washington Commanders made. Because they felt like they've now created themselves a window, leading the division at 7-2, and your rookie quarterback Jay Daniels is playing better than any rookie quarterback in the league right now. And you got a defensive minded head coach with experience, and he has playoff experience. So and he had Super Bowl. He was the head coach down in Atlanta when they blew. I mean, they blew the 28-3 lead, but he still has experience. And he also, he knows defense. He comes from the Legion of Boom out there in Seattle. So, that, in my opinion, was another reason why Washington made the move that they made. But the Detroit Lions, like I said, I think all roads lead through Detroit in the playoffs. Best team in football, in my opinion. And they've been the best team in football damn near this whole season. And I mean, this is the fun part about football, in my opinion, when you got teams like that just made a complete turnaround. The Detroit Lions a couple years ago wasn't thought of. Nobody even thought of them being a couple years later being as good as they are, but they are. I mean, that's just, I mean, that's the crazy and good thing about football. Is you're starting to kind of see new teams emerge now, teams that never really, from a vast majority of our lifetime, was good at all. despite them having Megatron and Matthew Stafford, they weren't even good in the Barry Sanders days. You know what I mean? But now that Detroit Lions have arrived and now all roads lead through Detroit in the NFC to get to the Super Bowl, the Detroit Lions are the best team in football, and they just made a damn good move by trading for Zadarius Smith from the Cleveland Browns. And they still was winning some games despite the ugly injury to Aiden Hutchinson. So adding Zadarius Smith was a damn good move. It was a much needed move. And Detroit, like I said, they still all roads lead through Detroit. Um, the Arizona Cardinals, they got a defensive end, Baron Browning, from Denver. They sent a 6th-round pick over there. Right now, Arizona's leading the NFC West. Surprisingly, I didn't think that, but they lead the NFC West. So maybe they feel like they can win the division, but I don't think they will win the division. Like I stated yesterday, I think the experience of Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford and the chemistry that those guys have out there with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua, when they get completely healthy, I think that'll be the team that'll climb out on top in that division. I think San Francisco, they won't, because I think the injury bug that hit them has set them back longer than expected. Chris McCaffrey, who's yet to play a game this season, not sure when he's gonna be back. Debo Samuel's been in and out. Now you got Brandon Ayuk out for the season with the ACL. And so and defensively, you're not they've been better defensively than they've been better in previous years defensively than they've been this season. So you're looking at San Francisco 49ers. I don't think that they're going to come out on top of this division. Arizona's at the top of the division right now. They just made a move for an edge rusher. But I think that Arizona's going to eventually slide down. And I think it's just going to be the experience of Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, and the chemistry that those guys got out there with Puka Nakua and Cooper Kupp. Once they get completely healthy, I think that's going to be the team with the experience and the leadership to win that division out there. I didn't have them winning the division at the beginning of the season, but the injury bug, like I said, hit San Francisco in many ways, and they still haven't got their star running back, Christian McCaffrey, back. And week 9 of the NFL, and he still ain't back. That's a big blow. That's a tough blow. And that's a big chunk of your offense. Even though Kyle Shanahan got a system where it's kind of plug and go, you still Christian McCaffrey. You can't replace a guy like Christian McCaffrey. He's a big chunk of your offense, and you ain't had him all year. So I think that the LA Rams are gonna be end up taking the division in the NFC West. Now, as far as other teams, playoff teams like the Atlanta Falcons, they're going to win the division. I think they should have been in the market for an edge rusher. I mean, it's still time for them to be in the market for an edge rusher. You got about 33 minutes before the 4 o'clock deadline. But I think teams like Atlanta, who are near the bottom in sacks, I understand they brought in and traded for Matthew Judon, but that hasn't really done anything for them up front with a pass rush. I think that they need to get a pass rush if they plan on competing in the playoffs. Because you look at the teams that they're going to have to go through in the playoffs. You're looking at the Washington Commanders, who lead a division right now. That's going to be a playoff team unless they have a complete meltdown or they have a huge injury bug. Half the team got to be hurt, and they just have a complete meltdown in the second half of this season. But that's going to be a team that you're going to have to play with the addition of Marshawn Lattimore. I think that, like I said, all roads going to lead through Detroit. You got to look at Green Bay. You got to look at Minnesota. You got to look at these teams in the NFC that the Falcons may possibly see, and I think they're going to need more pass rush than what they got. So I think the Atlanta Falcons should have been or needs to be in the market to go and find an edge rusher from somewhere to help them in the postseason, because the Atlanta Falcons will win the NFC South division. They will make the playoffs. They just need pass rush, because what I'm seeing from the Falcons pass rush so far this season ain't gonna cut it in the playoffs when you're going up against these teams. You look at a team like Seattle. Now I'm not sure what I think they should be selling. Will they move DK Metcalf? I don't know. I don't know. Will they move Tyler Lockett? I'm not sure because they got the young receiver Jackson Smith and Jigma out there. So will they move one of those two guys? I don't know. maybe I would consider it if the price is right. I would. I think DK is hurt now as we speak, so that may be something to consider. Like I said, the Dallas Cowboys, they need to be selling. The Saints have already started selling, parting ways with Marshawn Lattimore. Carolina's been selling. They've got rid of two wide receivers, Deontay Johnson and Jonathan Mingo. So, if you know you're not in the market to compete, just go ahead and sell. You know what I mean? Go ahead and get what you can get and sell. Um, the Jets parted ways with a wide receiver. I don't think they're going to go anywhere. They probably need to start selling and think about the future of that team because we've now seen Aaron Rodgers' best days. Father time has caught up with Aaron Rodgers. His best days are behind him. So it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to start selling, especially when they're going to go and hire a new head coach, in the offseason. So they need to be sellers. Like I said, Cleveland has already started selling some pieces. Um, in a disastrous season they've been having. So that's just what's going on right now so far in the trade, and at the trade deadline. Um, well, another trade just came through. Like I said, I didn't think that people were done. The Ravens just traded for the Rams cornerback Tre'Davious White. He was already granted permission probably like a week ago to seek a trade, a week or so ago to seek a trade. I didn't know if he was gonna go back to Buffalo, but turns out he's ended up in Baltimore. Um, so now you got two. Uh, so now you got three teams in the same division that's made moves. Well, actually, all four teams in the AFC North has made moves. Pittsburgh has added Preston Smith and wide receiver Mike Williams. The Cincinnati Bengals traded for Khalil Herbert, running back from Chicago. Um, the Cleveland Browns traded Zadarius White away to the Detroit Lions, and now you got the Baltimore Ravens that just traded for the LA Rams cornerback Tre'Davious White. Um, it's going to pretty solidify that defense some more. Like I said, if you're looking at coming out of the AFC, they're gonna need that. Coming out of the AFC, you still got Kansas City, like I said, who I don't think is the best team, but they still undefeated. They're gonna be making noise in the playoffs with Mahomes. And just coming out of your division is gonna be tough. Minus, I ain't gonna say tough, but they still got to go come out of the division with Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? So, and like I said, the Cincinnati trade for Khalil Herbert, I don't think they moved the needle enough. You know what I mean? So I'm not really too concerned with Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati lost more on the defensive side of the ball, and I think that's where they should be going at the deadline. Uh, and Cleveland is pretty much packed it in. There's nothing Cleveland can do. There was no need to hang on to Zadarius Smith, so they made a wise move in parting ways with him, and it was a damn good move for the Detroit Lions to go out and grab him. So that whole division is made moves. Like I said, Cleveland was a seller. Cincinnati, bought at the deadline, but I don't think they bought enough. Then you had Pittsburgh getting Preston Smith from Green Bay and Mike Williams from the Jets, and now you got the Baltimore Ravens that just acquired the cornerback Tre'Davious White from the LA Rams. So that division is active. Two teams buying, two teams selling. Um, Cincinnati, I ain't gonna really say buying. They kind of stayed the same. They didn't get better or get worse. They stayed the same. But I think it's probably gonna be some more moves made at the trade deadline. Like I said, you got about close to 30 minutes left, 27 minutes to be exact. But I actually like that Tre'Davious White move. Uh, they got him from Buffalo, and I thought that he would be going back to Buffalo. Because I don't really think Buffalo kind of wanted to part ways with him, but they had to because of that situation. And he was hurt over there in Buffalo. So, I thought that he, could have played this season and then he might have winded up back in Buffalo at the trade deadline. But it didn't happen. So we'll see what else come out of this NFL trade deadline. Let's see what else they got on over here. Yeah, it says future seventh round pick swaps between the Rams and the Baltimore Ravens. Um, yeah. The Rams sent a 2027 seventh round pick to Baltimore in return for a 2026 seventh round pick. Yeah, so they just basically swapped 7 round picks in the year 26 and the year 26 and 27 7 round pick swaps. They just basically swap picks in different years. But good move by Baltimore. Baltimore, acquired Deontay Johnson, maybe about a week ago or so, from Carolina, and now they acquired Tre'Davious White. So they did just like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Um, they went and got a receiver on the offensive side of the ball, and then they went and got a added to the defense. So you know, good move by Baltimore. They always pretty much stand up on their defense. Um, and I think they with the way Derrick Henry is running the ball, they don't want any excuses not to get it done this year. They don't want any excuses. Uh you got Lamar Jackson there, you got Derrick Henry running through every damn body. You got Zay Flowers in his second year. So you also have added Deontay Johnson, a veteran. Well, not a. I ain't gonna, well, I mean, if you want to consider him a vet, but he's back in the AFC North, leaving Pittsburgh, going to Carolina, and now back in Baltimore. So you added to the wide receiver core. Now you've added to the defensive side of the ball in the secondary with trading for Tre'Davious White. So solid pickup for the Ravens. There's been some solid trades so far at the deadline. Like I said, we still, got a few minutes, about 24 minutes or so, before the 4 o'clock deadline, um, 4 p.m. Eastern time deadline. So what I mean? There might be some teams that's still on the horn trying to get a deal done, whether to get better or sell. But what I mean, pretty solid additions. And like I said, it's a couple teams that need to be on the phone, such as the Falcons. They need to be getting some edge rushers. Because now you're looking at what these teams in the NFC are doing, they're gonna have to get pressure on these quarterbacks. And I think they're ranked at the bottom of the league when it comes to sacks. You know what I mean? So even though they lead in division, if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you got to be thinking playoffs now. You know what I mean? You got to be thinking like, what do we need in the playoffs? We're the midway point through the season. There's 2 teams in the division you ain't even got to worry about, in New Orleans and Carolina, and then you got another team in Tampa who are down 2 of their starting receivers, Mike Evans, who's on the IR, so he's gonna be out at least 4 games. Then you got to think about um, well, I don't know if he's on the IR, but he's gonna miss some time with that hamstring injury. They might have placed him on the IR. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But then you got my man. I can't. Damn, I had a brain freeze. Chris Godwin. Yeah, he's out for the season. With that ankle. So if you Atlanta, you pretty much coasting right now, and you beat Tampa twice in the division. You beat the Saints in the division. You've beaten Carolina once in the division. I think you got the Saints coming up again Sunday, which I think you will win that game too because they fired Dennis Allen and they selling pieces now. So I think you're gonna go if you're Atlanta. I think you're gonna go to New Orleans and win that game. So you're gonna pretty much coast in the division. So now you got to be thinking about playoffs. You got to be thinking about pass rush. You got to be thinking about what's the weakest point of your team. In my opinion, it's the pass rush when you're thinking about going up against the Detroit Lions. Because I said all roads lead through Detroit in the NFC. Now you got to think about Washington, how good they become right now with Dan Quinn. Then you look at the other teams in the NFC, the LA Rams, then you look at the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings. You look at those type of teams, you're gonna need some pass rush. So I think if you Atlanta, you need to be on the phone, calling somebody somewhere, some way about a pass rush that you can get. Because right now you're not looking as good as you thought you was gonna look up front. Even though you traded for Matthew Judon early in the season, you not looking as good as you should look right now up front with the pass rush, and you're gonna need that in the playoffs going up against those teams. So I think that's one team that need to be adding up front, a pass rush. Um, but like I said, man, I wasn't gonna keep y'all here long, man. I wasn't gonna be on here long. It was just a little brief show to break down some things that's happening at trade deadline in the NFL. Like I said, I'm not sure what other trade is gonna happen. But if something happened afterwards and before the 4 o'clock deadline and after between me getting off of here and the 4 o'clock deadline, just make sure you head over to IG, Damn underscore YouTube underscore sports talk. That's the IG page. You can head over there, follow that, and I will update and keep you guys notified on all the trades that's happening. Hey, if you want to follow me on IG, Ralph underscore sneaks, you can follow me there. If you go to the sports talk page, click the link in the bio. Subscribe to the content on YouTube. It's Damn You Too Sports Talk on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified when new content releases. Until the next episode, man, I'm out.